Good morning. Happy New Year. We are back. I am back. I guess we've always been here. There's someone in the comments. Lucas, present. Happy New Year, my man. It's been a couple weeks since we've been here, but I'm Joel Fieri. This is Christian Perspective, otherwise known as the Faith Filter. And Lucas, since we have someone present, I think we'll just go ahead and get going. I'm talking the Iranian, whatever however you want to pronounce it. This is big, folks. This is one of the bigger things that's happened in the last part of my lifetime, put it that way. Let me get right to the video and we'll get it going and add that to the stage. And let's go with this.
The regime has lost control in Iran. Now the cards are not being reshuffled, the owner of the table is returning. Control of the capital is slipping from the regime's grasp, minute by minute, street by street, falling into the hands of millions chanting the Shah's name. From Baluchistan to Khorasan, from Tabriz to Khuzestan, from Hamadan to Tehran, a nation of 92 million has overcome the wall of fear. The entire country is being shaken by massive riots. There is no longer fear in the streets, only angry Iranians who say, and a full-blown civil war is underway.
All right. A couple things to notice. Actually, I'm going to go back. I'm going to bring that up again because something happened now at the very end there, or towards the end, you heard that man saying that he can't even live a simple life. And I think a lot of people are saying this is an economic revolution, but I'm going to contradict that a little bit just because I'm going to replay one little part from the beginning that I think tells the whole story of this, of what's really going on. Right there, folks. That's it. Those women are throwing off their burqas, hijabs, niqabs, whatever the word for those trash bags that they have been forced to wear for the past 45, 47 years. This should be the symbol, just like the Chinese man standing in front of the tank in Tiananmen Square, or Ronald Reagan saying, Mr. Gorbachev, tearing down this wall, or George Bush standing on the pile at 9/11 saying these people will hear from all of us soon. This is what it's all about. And one of the ironies of this is, and I'll get to a small clip a little bit later, but this is where Western society is just so backwards, and the progressives are so mired in their own agendas and their own ideologies. This has been the fight all along that they should have been behind. If you're at all concerned about women's rights or the oppression of women, then you should have been behind in 2009 when there was another protest in Iran. That should have been it. Or it should have never happened. International pressure should have been so strong against Iran. There should have been boycotts. There should have been all the things that progressives and feminists, whoever, love to demand and call out and gain attention for themselves. This should have been their fight. It still should be their fight for women in these Islamic countries that are under oppression. That scene right there of those women throwing off. Okay, this scene right here. That to me is the new symbol of revolution now. Talk about oppressed women, talk about women, and these are very brave women to do that, because I came across researching this, I went back to the old footage from 1979 of the revolution and how, and I even saw some videos of Iran in the 70s before the Ayatollahs took over and before this radical Islamism enslaved their country. And it was you couldn't distinguish it from Europe, United States, Israel. It was a totally Western country. Women had all kinds of opportunities. They were doctors, they were researchers, they were, they're out in public, stylish, water skiing and bathing suit bikinis, whatever, right? They were what we would consider normal. And then when the Ayatollahs took over, they were forcing women into these burqas, and there was a protest. And a lot of women were protesting, saying, we're not going to do this. We're not going to go back in time like this. And those women were killed. They were stabbed to death and beaten. So, and now, for all the apologists for this, for all the progressive feminist apologists who have been saying, no, this is just cultural. This is a cultural expression for Islamic women. It's a beautiful, these head coverings and these body coverings are beautiful, cultural choice they make. No, it's not. They don't want to wear these, like I said, trash bags over their head. It's dehumanizing. And throughout the years, there have been brave Muslim women saying, where's the West? Where are the feminists in the West calling on this to end? This is dehumanizing us. We're not people. We can't share smiles. We can't look one another in the eye. We can't, we're treated as subhuman, which is what it is. So, Jacqueline's here. Hi, Jacqueline. Has got a comment. Yeah, this is historic. The people are awake and rebelling. Many remember the Shah. Yeah. And the Shah, that was the Shah's son there. And he looks just like the Shah, as I remember the Shah. And I've seen him in the old clippings. John Scott. Yeah. Trump, please help the Iranian people. And they are calling on Trump to help them. And Trump has said, it'd be interesting. It's interesting to see the difference from 2009 when there was another Iranian revolution. There was a phony baloney election, and Ahmadinejad, or whatever his name is, was reelected, and it was so obviously a farce. And again, it was this kind of revolution, and it was violently suppressed. And there was that woman who was killed in the middle of the street. That kind of became the symbol of that. And then they called on Obama to support them and call on the regime to step down, but he didn't. He said, no, we recognize the Iranian regime and we don't want to get involved. And that was really disappointing to people that Obama missed that opportunity. But again, it's that side of the worldview perspective doesn't really want the Islamic worldview to go away. And I don't know if they're afraid of it. Jacqueline says fear kept them quiet. Yeah, they kept the Iranians quiet. And I don't know if it's fear that kept the Western world quiet, but now is the chance. Now is a moment. And we have a different man in the White House. We have Donald Trump now. It's not Barack Obama. And Donald Trump has no problem telling the Iranian government, get out of there. You're not the legitimate government anymore. And that's what Obama should have said. And if he had said it, maybe this would have happened, 16, 17 years ago. Right. So, yeah, he kind of did. Not kind of, he did. Trump does support the people went underground because of the murder. Yeah. So it just went underground. It's been suppressed. And again, that's why that symbol of those women throwing off that covering is just, to me, is just awesome. I've been waiting to see that for 47 years. Okay. This all happened again. Me, I always go back to my past. And I like to talk about these things as kind of a span of my lifetime that I've been watching. But this was a big deal when I was in college, and a lot of you close to my age too. And you experienced this too. When the Iranian Revolution happened, it was just huge news. For those of you who don't know, Iran was a strong ally of ours. As I said, it was a very Western country, freedom of speech, lots of opportunity. The Shah was our ally. A lot of people say he was not a good guy. Yeah, he had his flaws, but boy, the Ayatollah Khomeini made him look like a saint. So this revolution happened. The Ayatollah took over. They took American hostages. I don't remember how many hostages there were. I want to say 444, but it wasn't. That was how many days they were held hostage. There was 100 something American hostages in the embassy. They stormed the embassy and took them hostage and demanded that the Shah, who had fled, be returned. And until he returned, they would keep the hostages. And back then we had a president named Jimmy Carter in the White House, and talk about a weak president. And Carter tried a really horrible rescue mission that was a fiasco, and he hemmed and hawed and didn't do what needed to be done. And he let this country, or these Ayatollahs, these criminals really, that took over this country and murdered a bunch of people, hung people from cranes, all that stuff, and took our hostages. We just basically let them bully us. The 1980 election happened. Ronald Reagan was elected. And on Inauguration Day in 1981, Iran let the hostages go because they said, we're not messing with that guy. We can mess with Jimmy Carter. We can't mess with Ronald Reagan. Okay. Now we have a situation where there's a stronger horse in the White House again. And I have a feeling they're not going to mess with Donald Trump. If they didn't want to mess with Ronald Reagan, they're not going to mess with Donald Trump. Okay. And again, they're looking what happened in Venezuela, and they know that if they give Trump a reason, he'll take them out, just like he took Maduro out. So this is huge, folks. This is as big a story as the wall coming down, as 9/11, whatever you want to say. This is huge. What this means is the biggest sponsor of terror throughout the world is on the brink of collapsing. And all America and Trump have to do is just push him over. They should topple. The Shah's son is, I know that Patrick Bet-David, who's a real influential YouTuber, I heard him the other day saying, I don't trust that guy because, he's an opportunist, but if he does this right, he's a great man. So he's calling on Iran to be solid, and he's saying, I've got your back. I'll come in there and I'll restore freedom and opportunity. And I won't put women in trash bags, and, we won't hang people from cranes. We won't take hostages. So he's calling on solidarity. And a matter of fact, I think he's calling on everyone to start chanting at one, or yelling at a certain hour, which is, I think, coming up in about 15 minutes. He was saying at a certain hour, just start calling out, yelling, all Iran. He wants all Iran yelling at one time, and then he'll know that they're all unified. And I think someone said that was noon Eastern, which is 9 Pacific, where I'm at, which is about 15 minutes. So we'll see if that happens. But if this keeps going, this is huge. And I wanted to put something else up. And again, it has to do with, I'm sorry, I got to remove that. And I will see if I can get this done and see if I can, yeah, here we go. I got to stop that one. And then I've got to share this one here. And this is from another show I was saw in my research. And this is this woman says what I was saying before.
The human rights advocate. This is another Iranian woman saying why the humanitarians won't stand with Iranians and fight for freedom.
As an Iranian, the number one question I've been asked over this past week, while the biggest anti-oppression revolution is unfolding in Iran right now, is where are the humanitarians? Where are the road blockings? Where's the BDS, the boycott, divestment and sanctions? The student encampments, Greta Thunberg? Where's the Freedom Flotilla? Where's AOC, Bernie Sanders, Zohran Mamdani? Where are the celebrities dedicating their award acceptance speeches to the brave people of Iran?
Yeah, that's a good question. Where are they?
Yeah, it is a good question. That's a very good question. Where's Greta Thunberg? Right? Where's her Freedom Flotilla? Where's, Leonardo DiCaprio and, Robert De Niro? Where are these people coming out and supporting the brave people of Iran? And if you don't think the people of Iran are brave, those women taking off those burqas is absolute bravery. And let's see, what have we got? Okay. So Trump knows every detail and he plans things without letting a liberal factor in. Yeah. So, but that's, that's where we're at. And that's, there's one other thing I wanted to show you that someone said. And I think this is, if I'm right. No, I'm not. So I had one other thing to share, but I think I put down the wrong time signature. So we won't worry about that. So that's the story. And the story is, what will the West do with this? I remember what it was that I wanted to share with you. And let me see if I can find it here. Because it also tells the story. There's something happened, and here it is. I want to show you this. Let's see. I think I got it right here. All right. I'm going to get this back here, and I'm going to put this back up. Sorry, folks. Are we watching? Yeah. So here it goes. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I did not add it to the
saying,
stage.
which is what you would expect from the Iranian regime. Students responded with.
Let me see here. Sorry about this. Okay, are we here? Yeah, we're here. So now I will get it going here.
Iranian officials tell a crowd of university students to chant "Death to America, Death to Israel." This is what the officials are saying, which is what you would expect from the Iranian regime. Students responded with "Death to Palestine." Listen to this. How about that? And they don't know what to do with it.
No, they certainly don't. So that gives you also a perspective, and this is something that is kind of flies in the face of the human rights people that the Iranian woman was talking about. Where are they? They're having flotillas to Palestine. They're blocking intersections. They're on overpasses. When I drive down Interstate 5, right, in California, and they're on their acceptance speeches. All these celebrities are coming out, right? That, again, Greta Thunberg, she's all over it, right? She has this flotilla, and everybody's talking about Palestine. And you would expect that the people in Iran would say the same thing. But instead, when he says death to Israel, death to America, what do they respond? They respond death to Palestine? Because they know what's going on. And this is for all the trolls when I go on, for those of you who don't know, a friend of mine takes these clips, short clips, or on this show and puts it on the internet under my name and with all permission from Michael and everybody. But and when he shows clips of when I talk about Israel, when I was talking about a couple months back, and when the peace deal was signed, and just the absolute trollish hatred of Israel and the accusations of Israel being, the oppressors somehow, and Palestinians being the victims. And the biggest sponsor of that resistance to Israel is Iran. And here we are in Iran, where you would expect to hear death to America, death to Israel for sure. And this official says, everybody say death to America, everybody say death to Israel. And what do they say? Death to Palestine, because they know, that young man saying, I can't make a life for myself. I can't even, because I wish I'd just curl up and die. I have no economic freedom here at all. The country is completely broke because all the money from the mullahs, all the money from the revolution is going to Hamas and Hezbollah to attack Israel. And the Iranian people know it. And this also goes back to what Benjamin Netanyahu said a few months back when he was telling the Iranian people, hey, we're going to start bombing you. And this is what your government has brought on top of you. And he said, you're the great Persian people. We're the great Jewish people. You're the great Persian people. You're the people of Cyrus and Xerxes and all these other people. The Bible stories talk about how the Persians, especially Cyrus, liberated the Jews in exile, let them go back to their homelands to rebuild the wall, all that. The great King Cyrus, right? You guys are the descendants of that. We have this great heritage in common. You deserve better than to be ruled by these thugs. And look at what they're going to bring on you. So and this is, again, you think they control when I talk about Israel, when I mention Netanyahu, oh my goodness, right? But this goes back to what he said. And this proves that he knew what he was talking about. The Persian people, the Iranian people don't want this theocracy, this oppressive Islamic extremism. And this guy's saying, I have no economic freedom. Those women throwing out the burqas, we have no freedom, period. They keep us in bags. They keep, talk about oppression. No woman in the West really knows what oppression is, I don't think, unless they have been to Iran and been under those circumstances. But, and again, this is not to say, this is not me saying death to Palestine, but this is them saying in the face of their government, we are not buying what you're selling. We know what you've been doing. We know you've been funding all this at our expense. We're not going along with this anymore. And this, like I said, this is the biggest news. This is the biggest sponsor of Islamic terror in the world. And the people are saying no more. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with the Israel situation, with the situation all throughout the world, with ISIS, Boko Haram, whatever, Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, all these groups that are getting Iranian funding. And again, I don't know if all of them are, but it's interesting to see if anybody will fill that void. Because without funding, without Iran funding these terrorist attacks around the world, there's no other money coming, I don't think. So, like I said, that's why I say this is huge, and that's why I say, again, I'm putting this out, and I'm declaring this. I am declaring that scene of those women taking off their burqas as the symbol. Here, let me put it up again. Okay, this is the symbol to me of this Islamic revolution, and this should forever be the symbol, just like so many others. There it is. Take that in. So, again, for someone who lived through that, who was on a college campus at the time that Iranian Revolution happened, all the Iranian students marching, saying "Death to America," and all everybody. I wasn't one of the ones shouting back, but a lot of people were shouting back, "Nuke Iran." It was "Death to America" and "Nuke Iran." "Death to America" and "Nuke Iran," and that was the feeling, because they had our hostages. Diplomatic diplomatic people that, you just don't do that. You don't storm someone's embassy. That's their sovereign ground. That was our sovereign ground. They did it. They took hostages. We had a weak president that let it go, and then a strong president came. We got the hostages back, but that regime took hold. And for the last 47 years, it's been oppressing its people. It's been sowing terror throughout the world. Now it's on the brink. And I think we've got a president that knows how to tip it over. And that is so huge. That's such a big story. Because this has been most of my life, most of my lifetime, all of the lifetime of people born after me. I'm no spring chicken, right? This is like when the wall came down. The Iron Curtain had been up my whole life. I didn't know any better. And someone that's my age now, was what I was back then, has never known anything other than this radical Islam. It's taken over Europe. It's taking over parts of the United States. But now the model for that, the inspiration for that, the very beginning of that, the biggest driving force of that is now about to fall. And when that falls, I will be very interested to see what happens. But this is the cause that we all need to get behind right now. And like the Iranian lady said, I don't see a lot of the usual people who will stand for human rights. We don't see them stepping up, at least not yet. But boy, if they have an ounce of integrity in them, they will. But I'm not holding my breath, because this doesn't fit the narrative. Those students chanting back and saying, no, we're not going to say death to America, and we're not going to say death to Israel. We're going to say death to Palestine. That gives the lie. That exposes the lie of the whole thing. So it's been exposed now. But, that will not make the news coverage. That will only circulate on the internet. And this is where this new media is going to prove itself. Because the real issue is those women throwing off the burqas. Yeah, it's economic, but it's economic because of all these other reasons. The women throwing off their coverings, chanting back, death to Palestine, which, peace to Palestine. The Palestinian people need to get rid of their Islamic oppressors. Palestine, Gaza needs to do what Iran is doing right now. So does Lebanon with Hezbollah and all these other groups. If it can happen in Iran, it can happen everywhere. So that's why this is just so massively huge. This is a lifetime story, and I'm so happy to see it, and I'm so happy that we have someone in the White House that will give it the final push it needs. So I'm very, very interested to see what happens. And okay, no other comments. We'll leave it at that. I'm out of time again. Thanks for listening, and I am on with Ben tomorrow, and I think we're talking corruption. Kind of dovetails a little bit in this, but we'll be talking about the corruption in Minnesota. So again, have a happy new year. Thanks for listening all through last year and starting this year, guys. Take care, and we will see you tomorrow. And if not tomorrow, I'll be here next week. Thanks for watching. Bye.